Welcome to the channel. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Gosford, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. What do you do when you're the man of the relationship? Well, so you think. But in the background, there's other influences that are undermining who you are. So you put tolerance into play. The Bible says in Proverbs 20 verse 2, the terror of a man is like the roar of a lion. Whoever provokes him forfeits his own life. Most translations say the terror of a king is like the roar of a lion. Whoever provokes him forfeits his own life. You know, you're the king of your world, of your domain. You're the king of your relationship, and she should be the queen. Too often in the Bible you read of stories where the First Lady undermines the authority of the man. And the Bible talks about this kind of woman as someone who is quarrelsome to the bones. The Bible says it's better to live on the corner of a housetop than in a house with a contentious and troublesome wife. That's why today many men are breaking down. And when they break down, they're not being recognized as the king in the relationship. So the stress and the frustration that's been brought to them via the relationship, the provocation, the poking and prodding, the unresolved, causes the man to roar, to express how he feels, and it may not be favourable. I don't think anybody should get to that point. I think you should bring up the issues as they occur and find out what the attitude of the person is you're trying to deal with, particularly your partner. So Proverbs 20 verse 2 says, the terror of a king, the terror of the authority, the head of the house, is like the roar of a lion, and whoever provokes him forfeits his own life. And then, interestingly enough, isn't this wonderful? It says in verse 3, it's honourable for a person to resolve a dispute, but any fool can quarrel. I have to say, I might have the attitude of a king, because if something's obviously able to be resolved and it's neglected, the roar will come. It may not be straight away, but it will come, because peace is worth fighting for. And sometimes we have to face the quarrel of the fool. Now, the roar of the king can be covert. It can be going on in his mind and he's trying to resist it. I've been in this situation so many times where I've tried to hold your tongue, don't do anything. Don't say anything, just hold your tongue. Don't do anything, don't say anything. only to spill over and have my say. And to be honest, sometimes people get left behind. You just get pushed to the point where you're raw. You get provoked to that point. There's no honour there. The person's not resolving whatever the dispute is in their world that's spiritually attacking and opposing you. See, you don't need quarrels in your relationships. You just need resolve. A relationship without resolve is going to end up in quarrels. The disputes will cause quarrels. That's why you got to keep the air clear. That's why resolve is honourable, because it puts to rest the fool and their quarrel. Proverbs 20 verse 3. And allows you both to go on in honour. You see, unresolved is dishonourable. It's got no honour at all. Because in verse 4, the slacker does not plough in season. The slacker. There's a slackness, there's an unwillingness in the mind to deal in a constructive way with the issue. Some people are paralysed. Some people are paralysed to the control and manipulation of others. That means they're not in the present. Something's got a grip on them that is not allowing them to manifest what they know is right and true. That means they're under the manipulation and control of somebody. They're not in the present. They're not their present self. They're twisted up and bound up in past situations and past influences and things that have caused them to be this way. They don't plough in season. And at harvest time, they look and nothing is there. In other words, when their love comes to the surface and they realise that the person they provoked, verse 2, the person that they showed dishonour towards in unresolved, verse 3, and it caused a quarrel, they showed that they were slack and they didn't want to resolve the issues. They looked and nothing was there. They looked and they saw what was important to them in their heart, and because they were foolish, when the wisdom dropped, when the penny dropped into their mind and they looked and evaluated their heart and their mind was speaking to them, they got through the provocation and dishonour and disputes and quarrels and slackness. And the biggest shock that anybody could have ever had was the fact that the one they loved is no longer there. And add to that it was possibly or probably their fault. Or your fault, if you're the one that's looking around and there's no one there. What was it that you did? Well, the Bible's trying to tell you. Everybody inside them has tolerance. But we all come to a place where we will roar. We'll roar if we're provoked for long enough. We'll roar. That's just human nature. When we're dishonoured for long enough and unresolved and disputes hang around for long enough, even if they're multi-layered, even if they're coming from third parties, they affect the mind. A roaring lion is an upset lion. Excuse me. And whoever provokes him forfeits his own life, because there's some things that are just commonplace that you don't do. But in today's world, people seem to have lost touch with what's happening inside of the life of the person that they're with. And that's not by way of not being communicated with. It's just by way of dishonour. It's just by way of slackness, verse 4. It's just by way of not ploughing into the relationship when they should. So when it's time, the harvest comes, the people look to their relationship and there's no one there. I know you can all hear what I'm saying. Where'd that person go? Well, you pushed them to the point where they had nothing left. You showed them such slackness and dishonour and unresolved and dispute and quarrel. You showed that you were a slacker and you didn't plough when you were supposed to for your relationship. And at harvest time you looked, and the shock of it, you realised, my God, there's no one there, and your heart's screaming for your love, for your man, for your woman, screaming, what have you done? You promised you wouldn't do this again. But that's the way of the slacker. The Bible says, Proverbs 20 verse 4, that for those that want to look it up, the slacker does not fix things in due season. And they cause the king to roar, and it's terrifying at the time. Take your stuff and go. That's horrific. Absolutely horrific. But women have lost touch and men have lost touch with the tolerances of the ones they're with. The Bible says, down a couple of verses in 20 verse 6, many a person proclaims their loving devotion, but who can be proven as trustworthy? Well, that's there for a reason, that verse. If you're not provoking and showing dishonour and unresolved in disputes, if you're causing quarrels and you're a slacker towards your relationship when you should be ploughing into it, so that at the time of harvest when you look, there is someone there, and you know that you can honestly say, I did the work to deserve that person. Many a person proclaims their loving devotion, but it's the time when the harvest comes that we'll see if they're there or not, whether we've been trustworthy. The righteous person walks in integrity, and blessed are their children after them. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Do the right thing by the one that you're with, and let no interferences ruin it. Bye for now.